You followed the rules. You showed up on time. You worked late when they needed you to. You stayed quiet when things felt unfair, because that's what professionals do, right? And yet, somehow, it still feels like you're falling behind, like everyone else got a memo you never received. That's not a coincidence. There's a second set of rules running underneath every workplace. Rules that no one puts in your onboarding packet. Rules that your manager probably learned the hard way and that most employees only figure out after years of confusion. Today, we're going to name all 15 of them. Not to make you angry, but so you can finally stop playing a game without knowing the full board. Most of us are taught that work is a meritocracy. Work hard, do good work, be reliable, and the rewards will follow. Promotions, recognition, salary increases. It's a clean story, and for a while it feels true. But at some point, something shifts. You watch a colleague who works less get promoted faster. You do excellent work on a project and nothing changes. You give feedback honestly and get labeled as difficult. You raise a concern and it quietly disappears. And instead of questioning the system, most people turn inward. They start wondering what's wrong with them. They work harder, they stay quieter, they wait longer. What's actually happening is simpler than that. There are two games being played simultaneously. One is the official game, the job description, the performance review, the org chart. The other is the unofficial game, the one built on relationships, perception, power dynamics, and unwritten norms. Nobody teaches you the second game, but the people who succeed at work, the ones who seem to advance without obvious reason, they figured it out, often intuitively, often by accident. These are the 15 rules that form that second game. Rule 1. Your job description is not your actual job. What's written in your contract is the floor, not the ceiling, and also not a complete map of what matters. Your real job is to make your manager's life easier, make the team look good, and solve problems before they become someone else's headache. The people who get ahead treat the job description as a starting point, not a boundary. Rule 2. Visibility matters more than output. This one is uncomfortable but well documented. Research on workplace dynamics consistently shows that employees who communicate their work, who make their contributions visible, are rated higher by managers than employees who quietly produce equally good or better results. This isn't about bragging. It's about the simple reality that your manager can only reward what they can see. Rule 3. Your performance review started on day 1. Most people treat performance review season as the moment to prove their value, but your manager has been forming opinions since your first week. The review is just when those opinions get written down. What this means practically, how you behave on ordinary Tuesday afternoons matters more than how you present yourself in December. Rule 4. The person who surfaces problems is rarely the person who gets credit for solving them. Organizations have a subtle but consistent bias. People who raise uncomfortable issues often get associated with the issue itself. The person who says, "This process is broken," gets mentally filed under broken process. The person who quietly fixes it and presents the improvement gets filed under solution. This doesn't mean stay silent. It means be thoughtful about how and when you raise things, and try to arrive with a proposed solution alongside the problem. Rule 5. Likability is a professional skill. This isn't about being fake or performing happiness you don't feel. It's about something more specific, being easy to work with, responding to messages, following through without reminders, being predictable, being calm in tense situations.
These behaviors create what psychologists call social capital, a kind of trust reserve that gets you the benefit of the doubt when things go wrong. And things always go wrong eventually. Rule 6. Your salary is the result of a negotiation, not a reflection of your value. This is one of the most important rules on this list. Two people doing the same job at the same company can earn 20, 30, or even 40% different salaries, not because one is better, but because one negotiated and one didn't. Studies on salary negotiation show that many employees leave significant money on the table simply by accepting the first offer or never asking at all. The company has a budget. They'll offer what they can get away with. The anchor point of that offer is usually set by what you previously made, not what you're worth. Rule 7. Who you know inside the organization matters as much as what you can do. This isn't cynicism, it's organizational reality. When a promotion decision is being made, it happens in a room. In that room, people advocate for candidates. The person being advocated for is almost always someone the decision maker has a relationship with, someone whose work they've seen directly, someone they trust. You can be the most competent person on the floor and still lose to someone with a stronger internal network. Building relationships across the organization isn't networking in the shallow sense. It's making sure people know who you are before the decision gets made. Rule 8. Meetings are rarely about the topic on the agenda. Meetings are social events with an information layer on top. They're where people signal alignment, test political waters, demonstrate competence, and build or protect status. The real decisions are usually made before the meeting or after it, in smaller conversations between people with authority. What happens in the meeting itself is often a performance of a decision that's already been reached. Knowing this changes how you prepare and how you participate. Rule 9. Your manager is managing upward as much as they're managing you. A common frustration is feeling like your manager doesn't advocate for you, doesn't see your work, doesn't protect you from unreasonable requests. Sometimes that's true, but often your manager is under pressure from their own manager, navigating their own performance metrics, their own visibility problems, their own political dynamics. Understanding that your manager exists inside the same system you do makes it easier to work with them rather than against them, and easier to identify the moments when they actually can go to bat for you. Rule 10. Being too good at your current job can trap you there. This is counterintuitive but documented in management research. Employees who are exceptional at their role sometimes get passed over for promotion because their manager doesn't want to lose them. You become too valuable where you are. This is especially common in technical roles, where the depth of knowledge is hard to replace. The solution isn't to perform poorly, it's to actively train others, document your work, and make yourself promotable rather than irreplaceable. Rule 11. The way you handle failure is watched more carefully than the failure itself. Everyone makes mistakes. Organizations know this. What managers are actually watching for is how you respond. Do you acknowledge what went wrong, learn from it, and move forward? Or do you deflect, minimize, and protect your ego? Leaders who are trusted with bigger responsibility are trusted precisely because they've shown they can be honest about setbacks. A clean acknowledgement of a mistake, followed by a clear plan forward, builds more trust than a flawless performance that never gets tested. Rule 12. Burnout is a system problem that gets framed as a personal problem. The language around burnout is almost always individual. You need better work-life balance. You need to set boundaries. You need to practice self-care. These aren't bad suggestions, but they locate the problem in the employee rather than in the conditions the employee is working in. Research on burnout, including the foundational work of Christina Maslach at UC Berkeley, identifies organizational factors like workload, lack of control, insufficient reward, and value misalignment as the primary drivers. Understanding this doesn't mean the situation is acceptable. It means you can evaluate clearly whether the environment is something that can change or something you're better off leaving. Rule 13. Loyalty to a company is not the same as loyalty from a company. The concept of the long-term employer-employee relationship, where you stay, give your best years, and get security and seniority in return, has been structurally dismantled over the past several decades.
Pensions have been replaced by individual savings accounts. Job security has been replaced by at-will employment. Layoffs now happen to profitable companies optimizing for quarterly targets, not just struggling ones. None of this means individual managers don't care about their teams. Many do. It means that making long-term career decisions based on institutional loyalty is a different calculation than it was for previous generations. Rule 14. The informal power structure rarely matches the org chart. On paper, authority follows title. In practice, influence flows through trust, information, and relationships, which don't always align with hierarchy. In most organizations, there are people 2 or 3 levels below the top who control information flow, whose opinion is sought before decisions are made, and who carry disproportionate influence. These are the informal power holders. Identifying them, not to manipulate, but to understand how things actually work, is a form of organizational literacy that most people never develop. Rule 15. The exit is a door that opens in both directions. Most people treat leaving a job as a permanent rupture, but in many industries, the professional world is smaller than it seems. Your manager today may be your client in 5 years. Your colleague today may be the hiring manager at your next opportunity. How you leave matters. The notice you give, the work you complete, the bridges you protect. This isn't about performing loyalty you don't feel. It's about understanding that professional relationships have long half-lives and treating departures with the same care you'd give any other professional interaction. There's a concept in organizational psychology called the psychological contract, the unwritten expectations that exist between an employer and employee beyond the formal terms of the job. When that psychological contract is violated, when employees feel the implicit promises were broken, the damage to motivation, performance, and retention is significant. Studies consistently show it's usually not the formal terms that drive disengagement, but the informal ones. The promise of recognition that never came, the implication of advancement that stalled, the expectation of fairness that went unmet. What makes these 15 rules worth knowing isn't that they give you an unfair advantage. It's that they help you see the actual terms of the contract you're in, not the idealized version, but the operational one. That clarity is the beginning of better decisions. None of these rules are an endorsement of how workplaces should work. A workplace where visibility trumps output, where likability outweighs competence, where loyalty flows one way, that's not a just system, and recognizing that is important. But there's a difference between understanding a system and consenting to it. You can see the rules clearly and still decide how you want to play. You can decide which games are worth entering, which environments align with your values, which trade-offs you're actually willing to make. The goal of naming these rules isn't to make you cynical, it's to make you less confused. Because confusion, not knowing why things are happening the way they are, is often more exhausting than the situation itself. When you see the system, you stop blaming yourself for outcomes that were never fully in your control. You make better decisions with less friction, and you can start building a working life that's grounded in reality rather than the story you were told at the beginning. That's not cynicism, that's clarity. If any part of this felt familiar, if you recognized a situation or finally had a name for something you'd been feeling for a while, then you already understand why this kind of thinking matters. This channel is built around one idea, that the systems shaping your work, your money, and your career are understandable. Not fixed, not infallible, just understandable. And once you understand them, you can navigate them more honestly. If that's useful to you, subscribe. New videos every week. And if there's a specific rule on this list you want me to go deeper on, drop it in the comments. I'll build an episode around it. See you in the next one.